There is confirmation that Diana, Princess of Wales, has died.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're looking at tragic deaths from the 1990s that shocked the world, sparked controversy, and left lasting legacies.
Canadian Owen Hart, known as the Blue Blazer, was killed performing a pre-match stunt.
Brandon Lee. Brandon Lee's untimely death at just 28 years of age in the early 90s stands as one of the most tragic tales in all of Hollywood history. The son of martial arts icon Bruce Lee, Brandon was on the verge of superstardom, having transitioned from roles in Hong Kong and American action films to a breakout lead role in 1994's The Crow, an adaptation of the celebrated graphic novel.
They're all dead. They just don't know it yet.
Unthinkably, a catastrophic on-set accident changed everything as Lee was fatally wounded by a prop gun.
The gun he was using was supposed to be loaded with blanks. When the cameras rolled, Brandon Lee was performing for the last time.
The incident rocked the film industry.
And he was in, critical condition. Somehow at that point, I don't know, I've got chills right down my spine. And I felt that he's not going to make it.
In a heartbreaking parallel to his own father's fate, Brandon's life was cut short just as his star was beginning to rise. Phil Hartman. Throughout the 90s, it was nearly impossible to turn on your TV without hearing the unmistakable voice of Phil Hartman.
Hi, I'm Troy McClure. You may remember me from such films as The Greatest Story Ever Hooled and They Came to Burgle Carnegie Hall.
From The Simpsons to Saturday Night Live to news radio, Hartman was a towering presence in entertainment. Heck, his impressions are still hailed as one of the greatest in SNL's history.
There's gonna be a whole bunch of things we don't tell Mrs. Clinton. Fast food is the least of our worries.
Sadly, Hartman was fatally shot by his wife, Bryn Amdahl Hartman, on May 28, 1998, in their Encino, California home. Bryn, who struggled with substance abuse and mental health issues, later took her own life.
Distraught neighbors and friends of the couple say they had marital problems. One woman said she had feared that this would happen.
And with Hartman's death coming months after fellow Saturday Night Live alum Chris Farley died of an overdose, it marked a period of profound loss for the comedy community.
Lay off me, I'm starving.
Diet starts Monday.
JonBenet Ramsey.
December 26, 1996. A brisk, clear morning in Boulder, Colorado. John Ramsey was up before dawn.
On December 26, 1996, 6-year-old beauty pageant contestant JonBenet Ramsey went missing from her family's Boulder, Colorado home.
Their 6-year-old daughter, JonBenet, was gone.
Parents John and Patsy found an alleged ransom note demanding a specific amount of money and alerted the authorities.
And as I came to the bottom of the stairs, there were 3 pages neatly laid across one of the runs of the stairway. I turned around to start to see what it was and realized after I read the first couple of lines,
it was a ransom note.
However, just hours after she was reported missing, her deceased body was discovered in the basement. With her death deemed a homicide, the case quickly garnered massive media attention, leading to intense tabloid speculation and scrutiny directed at the family members.
I'm appalled that anyone would think that John or I would be involved in such a hideous, heinous crime. But let me assure you that I did not kill JonBenet. I did not have anything to do with it.
Despite extensive investigations, not to mention countless true crime documentaries, the case remains unsolved to this day. Owen Hart. As the 20th century neared its end, the professional wrestling world would suffer one of its greatest losses. On May 23, 1999, during a live then WWF pay-per-view event in Kansas City, Missouri, Owen Hart, performing as his Blue Blazer character, tragically fell to his death when a stunt went terribly wrong. While being lowered into the ring from the rafters, Hart fell over 70 feet due to a harness line malfunction.
Someone doesn't just fall from the top of an arena, something went wrong.
Shockingly, the event continued even after the fatal accident, a decision that drew subsequent outrage and condemnation from many in the Hart family. To this day, Owen's tragic death remains one of the darkest moments in wrestling history.
It was foolish, it was unnecessary, it didn't need to happen.
Matthew Shepard. Matthew Shepard was a 21-year-old University of Wyoming student when his life was cut short in one of the most galvanizing hate crimes in modern American history. On the night of October 6, 1998, Matthew was lured by two men, tied to a remote fence, beaten, and left to freeze in the cold.
Matt was tortured and left to die.
Found approximately 18 hours later, he sadly passed away from his injuries in the days that followed.
Matt's funeral and the murder trials, which led to multiple life sentences, dominated the media.
The attack will become a watershed moment for LGBTQ+ rights in the US. More than a decade later, the passage of the Matthew Shepard and James Byrd Jr. Hate Crimes Prevention Act expanded federal protections to include crimes driven by sexual orientation, gender identity, and disability.
I just saw this very bright, intellectual, worldly young person. It's one of the mysteries that keeps you going. I can't ever really know what he might have been able to accomplish, but I have a pretty good idea of what we can accomplish in his name if we keep doing it, and so we do.
Tupac Shakur and the Notorious B.I.G. The hip-hop world was rocked by the back-to-back murders of two of its biggest icons.
I hit the studio, drop a jewel, hoping it pay. Live my life watching time fly. To live and die in LA.
On September 7, 1996, Tupac Shakur was shot in a drive-by attack in Las Vegas, succumbing to his injuries 6 days later.
Shakur was shot 4 times after leaving the Mike Tyson boxing match in Las Vegas.
Just 6 months afterward, on March 9, 1997, Christopher Wallace, better known as the Notorious B.I.G., was also gunned down.
Residents of his home neighborhood of Bedford-Stuyvesant remembered his work today.
I liked his music because he never lied about his lyrics. He always came, spoke from his heart. He just kept it real.
He represented the real world. The stuff he talked about, it happened in the real world,
Once close, Tupac and Biggie had become bitter rivals at the center of the 90s infamous East Coast-West Coast feud. Decades later, the unsolved killings of two rap legends still fuel speculation. In fact, the family of Tupac Shakur has since hired an attorney to investigate any possible connection to disgraced music mogul Sean Diddy Combs.
The family of the late rapper Tupac Shakur has hired a team of investigators to look into what they say is a link between Sean Diddy Combs and the murder of the hip-hop star in 1996.
Gianni Versace.
It was the high society murder that stunned the world.
It didn't take long for Italian fashion designer Gianni Versace to make a name for himself in the industry in the late 70s.
I have a beautiful house, I have a beautiful life, but that is the media. What I desire is more.
Sadly, his life was cut short in the late 90s when Andrew Cunanan gunned him down in front of his Miami Beach home on July 15, 1997. 8 days later, following a nationwide manhunt, Cunanan took his own life. It turned out Cunanan was a spree killer who had murdered 4 others before targeting Versace.
Andrew Cunanan makes the top 10 FBI list. You had people in all parts of the country wondering whether Andrew Cunanan was going to show up at their house.
While his exact motivations are largely unknown, experts speculate Cunanan was jealous of Versace's fame. Gianni's death highlighted issues of security for public figures and brought further attention to the potential dangers posed by obsessive individuals. Selena Quintanilla-Pérez. Tejano music sensation Selena tragically had her life taken from her on March 31, 1995, at just 23 years of age.
Selena has been shot dead at a Corpus Christi motel.
The music star was killed by her fan club president and friend, Yolanda Saldivar. After being confronted about embezzlement, Yolanda shot Selena at a motel in Corpus Christi, Texas.
It's not like we thought that this person was possible of the act that she committed.
Selena's undeniable presence touched countless lives, and her sudden death remains a heartbreaking and shocking reality. Her story would go on to be immortalized in a 1997 feature film starring Jennifer Lopez and a Netflix miniseries. It's also become impossible to not shed a tear while listening to Dreaming of You.
'Cause I'm dreaming of you tonight till tomorrow. I'll be holding you tight.
Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. When Nicole Brown Simpson and her friend, waiter Ron Goldman, were found stabbed to death outside her Los Angeles home on June 12, 1994, it sparked a media frenzy, to say the least. Nicole's ex-husband, former NFL star and prominent celebrity O.J. Simpson, was subsequently arrested and charged with the murders. The 134-day trial, dubbed the trial of the century, became a spectacle, highlighting issues of race, celebrity, and the criminal justice system.
If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
Simpson's acquittal in 1995 remains one of the most controversial verdicts in American legal history.
We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Orenthal James Simpson, not guilty of the crime of murder in violation of penal.
However, following the criminal trial, a civil jury found O.J. liable for the wrongful deaths of Nicole and Ron, ordering him to pay $33.5 million in damages to their families.
Are you capable of killing somebody?
You know, I would say no.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Princess Diana. On August 31st, 1997, the world was shaken by the tragic death of Princess Diana, who succumbed to injuries from a devastating car crash in Paris's Pont de l'Ama tunnel.
Diana, Princess of Wales, has in fact been killed in that car accident.
The vehicle, which was said to be speeding in an attempt to outrun the paparazzi, slammed into a pillar, killing Diana, her companion Dodi Fayed, and driver Henry Paul. The loss of the beloved people's princess triggered an unexpected wave of global mourning and sparked fierce debate over tabloid culture and the ethics of the press. Decades later, Diana's legacy of compassion and humanity still resonates, and her untimely death remains one of the most heartbreaking moments from the 90s, let alone in history.
And it seems to me you lived your life like a candle in the wind.
Were you around when these infamous 90s deaths made headlines? Share your memories in the comments below.
Your candles burned out long before your legend ever will.